Hello, have a seat.
Oh, thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
My
to
name
meet
is
you.
Isis.
I'm Jacob.
Nice to meet you. So the process is, I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions.
Okay.
You're gonna answer. So the first question is, can you describe a successful communication strategy you developed for a previous project or campaign? What are the key components and how did you measure its effectiveness?
So, taking into account, our current digital climate that we live in, we've seen an advancement of marketing through social media. So, I took it upon myself to just see what tools I can access through social media. Um, One to name a few, it's Instagram Reels. So, what happens there is people usually upload videos entailing like a montage of the experience you provide as a small business. So, I took it upon myself to hire a videographer to record the process of making the sushi and serving it to the customers at the old restaurant that I worked at. And due to that video, actually, I was able to gain traction a lot to the restaurant. Several customers came in from the video alone.
That's awesome. Next question is, how do you stay updated with the current communication trends and best practices? Can you give examples of how you've incorporated new trends into your work?
Well, for one, working in an environment, you're gonna deal with a lot of different personalities all at once. Different ethic, different style of working. Not one person's gonna work the same. So, I feel like because trends come and go, and as taboo as it is, trends come and go, and they're really, I feel like they don't have a place in the workplace. I think they dilute our healthy interactions that we could all have with each other.
Noted. In your opinion, what role does storytelling play in effective communication, and how have you, utilized storytelling techniques in your previous roles?
Well, yeah, for one, as I said, when I worked at a restaurant, a lot of the stories that they would tell would encompass, they would be used to inspire or warn, possibly to just have a laugh, right? A lot of these stories, they're entailing like mistakes from previous employees, like mistakes that previous employees have made, mainly to warn me. And because of those stories, I'm able to apply them in any errors that I make. But when you're working in restaurant service, sometimes you can make errors something personal to yourself, and that's where we have a strained experience. But whenever you have coworkers who share those experiences with, it makes the environment all the better to be in.
Communication often involves working with diverse teams and stakeholders. How do you approach building relationships and collaborating with different groups to achieve, common goals?
Yeah, like I said, different personalities. There's a lot of ideas, but sometimes a lot of those ideas don't see daylight. They're constantly swept under the rug, but that's due to the reception of it. Are there going to be ideas that we treat with care? Are there going to be ideas that we just treat it as an echo chamber of something we do not prioritize? Um, I truly believe that the key component to a work environment is for people to feel heard. You know, Feeling heard is simple, but it's something that people feel acknowledged in and feel comfortable voicing their opinion.
Agreed. Now, can you share an example of challenging communication situation you've encountered in the past and how you successfully managed it?
Well, the challenging communication situation I've dealt with, it's a very, it's unfortunate that I have to generalize a lot of people, but when working as a server, sometimes the hardest experiences are when people are hard of hearing, and that's usually people in their elder years. I took it upon myself one time because I lacked the skill of American Sign Language. I had to use a pen and paper to just move the conversation forward, and eventually we got to attend that customer equally like every other customer. As hard as it was, we managed to do that, and that's a great obstacle that I overcame.
Oh, nice. Now, data analysis is becoming increasingly important in communication roles. How comfortable are you with, interpreting the data and using analytics to inform communication strategies?
So the ability to have a statistic analysis to make, a lot of people don't like being inside of that statistic. They're not comfortable being labeled a statistic nowadays. But you can't, you win some, you lose some. Sometimes as a company, you're overseeing hundreds of employees and you're not capable to access all of them. So the best ability we can do that I see are polls. Polls have worked for years. So having data that you can engross across from surveys, you're able to see and target any specific areas that we can work in as a company.
Thank you. Next question. Social media is a powerful tool for communication. How do you approach crafting messages for various social media platforms, and how do you measure the impact of your social media efforts?
So with impact, there has to be a certain set of values and morale that you have to carry. Every company has a mission statement. If you, in your personal life and in your social media life, do not embody these so-called values of a company, then you're not going to set up a sanitary digital footprint. If your digital footprint is placing margins and excluding people, but when your company is talking about unity, it's not really something that goes hand in hand. I guess what I'm getting at is consistency. Consistency is something that we really require in every aspect, whether it's at work, your social life, or any personal social media that you're using.
So true. Now, can you discuss a time when you had to communicate complex information to a non-technical audience? How did you ensure clarity and understanding?
Yeah, so a lot of the verbiage we use in our work life, not the common folk, as you can say, they're not going to be well versed in that stuff. So, for example, me, who I was trained in a restaurant, I can tell you the menu pretty much like the back of my hand. But to a customer that is very new there, and they, sometimes menus can be word jargon, and there are a lot to look at. A rule of thumb is if you can't explain it to a 5-year-old, you really don't know your menu at all. So to be able to study and dedicate time and effort to truly know a menu, to truly know what each platter carries, simple necessities like that, you're able to overcome those little debacles that people face and have a better customer experience.
Thank you. Next question. Crisis communication is a critical aspect of this role. How do you prepare for and handle communication during a critical time?
A critical time for a lot of employees is their mental health, unfortunately, and as in recent years, mental health has been kind of an uphill battle for a lot of people. So, like I said, just the ability to listen is a key component. It's crucial. Even if it means being a shoulder to cry on or just being here for someone, it's definitely living a very mission oriented workplace.
Thank you for answering that. Now, next question. Can you provide an example of a time when you had to manage multiple communication projects simultaneously? And how did you prioritize tasks and, ensure the timely delivery of each project?
Well, in juggling a job and having a school that I have to attend to, I have to keep in mind all this information about how a restaurant works, right? At the same time, I have my social aspect where, for example, I had a birthday party in one weekend, but I had a project due. So you kind of have to have a sacrifice in what to do. It's either your time, your effort, your comfortability. Sometimes it's even your ego because, not everyone gets up with the feeling of 100% being dedicated to working. But having said that, I had to put aside time to work on this school project at one time and skip my friend's birthday party because I really had to move my education forward and keep my priorities in place.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for answering all these questions. Thank you so much for coming in for this interview. At this moment, do you have any questions for me?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I don't have any questions for you at this time.
Okay. We will update you on the status of your application. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Thank you.